What are the exact costs of buying your first home? This is a question that a lot of people have when they're buying their first house and sometimes even their second or third house, because it can be a long time in between buying homes, and so it can be easy to not remember so much how much everything costs and what are all the costs that go into buying a home. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 main costs that you're going to have when buying a home, so that way you know exactly what to expect. My name is Devin Cook, and if you wouldn't mind, just hit that like button and hit that subscribe button down below as well. Now, the first cost when buying a home, and this is going to be one of the major costs, although as the buyer, you're typically not going to be paying this cost, and that is agent fees. When you're buying or selling real estate, there's going to be a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. And obviously, real estate agents don't work for free. We have families, we have things we have to pay for. And so we do get paid to help you through this entire process. Although the majority of the time, both agents, the sellers and the buyer's agent, are paid by the seller. So as the buyer, you're typically not going to be paying for this cost, although if you are on the hook for it, your agent is going to let you know ahead of time. So that's the first major cost you need to be aware of, although usually you're not going to be footing that bill. Now for the next 4 major costs, and these ones you are going to be on the hook for pretty much regardless. And the first one is an inspection. When you're getting a home, typically you're going to get an inspection on the home, so that way you know everything you can about the condition of this property before spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to buy it. And a typical inspection on an average sized house, say 3,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet, or around there, is going to be about $300 depending on who you go with. But then if you want to add on extra inspections, say a more detailed foundation inspection or a pool inspection, this cost can increase by a couple $100s. So I like to tell my buyers to estimate about $500 to get your home inspected. And many times you're gonna spend less than $500, but I like for my buyers to budget $500 just because I like to estimate high. That way, if the bill comes in a bit lower, you're pleasantly surprised. So about $500 for a home inspection. Now, the third cost that you need to be aware of is the appraisal on the property. And the appraisal is really there to benefit the lender. They want to know that if they're lending you $750,000 on this property, that it's actually worth $750,000. So an appraisal is going to go out there, you're going to pay them, and they're basically going to take a look at all of the comparable properties in the area and give the lender an idea of what that property is actually worth based on their professional opinion. And you can't get out of that appraisal unless you get an appraisal waiver, but you typically need at least 20% down to do so, or if you're paying cash. So if you don't fall under those 2 stipulations, well, you're going to have to get an appraisal, and they cost typically about $550. And say we round that up a bit to about $600. Now you're at $600 for an appraisal and about $500 for an inspection, so about $1,100 before even closing on the home. And keep in mind that these can become sunk costs where if for whatever reason you don't end up closing on the property, you're not getting that money back. So keep in mind that this is money that you're putting up front that you could stand to lose if you don't close on the property. Now, the fourth cost that you need to be aware of, and is probably the biggest chunk of money that you're gonna have to come out of pocket with, and that is your down payment. Now, your down payment is going to vary. It could be anywhere between 0% and like 80% of the price of the property. So let me tell you what your different scenarios are gonna be. If you're a veteran getting a VA loan or you're getting a USDA loan, you're only gonna have to put down actually 0% on the property. So you're not gonna have a down payment to worry about. However, if you're getting a conventional loan, you're gonna have a minimum of a 3% down payment or a 3.5% down payment with an FHA loan. And of course, you can always put more money down than that. If you're getting a conventional loan, you don't have to just put down 3%. You can put down 5% or 12% or 23.76% down if you really want to. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to say that you're going to put down the minimum of 3.5% because that's what you're going to have to put down if you get an FHA loan, which requires a lower credit score than a conventional loan. So at this point, you're looking at $1,100 for the inspection and the appraisal, plus 3.5% of the price of the property. That means that if you're buying a $500,000 house, you're gonna need as a down payment $17,500. And obviously that number is going to change based upon the purchase price for the home that you're buying. Now, the fifth and final cost that you need to be aware of and that you need to be planning for is your closing costs. Now, a lot of times when people talk about closing costs, your down payment is included in those costs, but I'm gonna explain it without the down payment included. What your closing costs are essentially all of the miscellaneous fees required in order to purchase the property. You're gonna have fees to your lender for originating the loan. You're gonna have fees to the title company for going through everything, for getting title insurance, for the attorneys to go through all the paperwork, for transferring the title and recording the sale in your name with the city. There's all kinds of miscellaneous fees that you're gonna be paying for, and these are closing costs. Now, I typically tell my clients to estimate 1 to 2% for closing costs of the entire purchase price of the home. And I also tell my clients that 2% I recognize is a bit high in terms of closing costs, but if you're purchasing a property and you have to put up quite a bit to satisfy your escrow account, you have to put a lot of money in for taxes and homeowners insurance and all those kinds of things, then you could see that number creeping towards that 2% mark. So right around 1 to 2%, but let's go estimate high, so that way if it's lower, you're pleasantly surprised again. So 2% for closing costs. That means that just in closing costs on a $500,000 house, that's about $10,000. Now, it's probably gonna be less than this, but again, you just want to be prepared, so estimate about $10,000. So that means at this point, if you're buying a $500,000 house with all of these different terms that we've decided on, you're gonna be spending $1,100 for the inspection and the appraisal, and then you're gonna be spending a total of 5.5% for your down payment and your closing costs combined, which is gonna be about $27,500 on that $500,000 house. That means if you're looking to buy a $500,000 house, you should have roughly $30,000 saved and ready to go, so that way you can make this purchase. And if that sounds just astronomically high for you, well, there are different down payment assistance programs we can use, and there's different programs that lenders can have access to help you with your closing costs. So we can definitely look at some different options. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and feel free to contact me if you want to buy a house in the DFW area or sell a house also in the DFW area. Thanks.